data privacy is, everyone's talking about it, but then on the other hand, no one really knows what to talk about it. So to start off our conversation, if I ask you, how important and how urgent is it for Sri Lanka businesses as well as individuals to get on the bandwagon in terms of protecting data?
Yeah, I think it's very important and very urgent. So I think this is a really good opportunity for Sri Lanka itself. I think if we do get kind of data privacy compliance right,
yes,
we can really set ourselves up as a main competitor in the region, being able to provide products and digital services within this journey as well. So as much as I say it's critical, I also see it as a huge opportunity for us as a nation.
We've been talking about data privacy for a while,
yeah,
but I don't know where exactly the level is in the country.
So in Sri Lanka itself, we have just enacted the Sri Lankan Data Privacy Act. So we have a very good regulation that has come in, that has given us a very good platform in that sense. I think what Sri Lanka what I like to call this is more or less a bridging phase, where we're going from regulation to actual implementation.
Right.
So I think now we need to understand how we run that implementation process, what that means in day-to-day, in a day-to-day operation, and understanding not only the responsibility from an organization standpoint, but for me as a person, as you know, the data that you hold of mine, understanding that responsibility as well.
Who should bear that responsibility? Is it the state or is it the private sector?
I really think it's going to be more or less a combined effort if we are to move on.
Right.
The state obviously has set out regulation as it is, but as organizations I think we have the responsibility when it comes to data.
Right.
The world itself has changed when it comes to data itself.
Yes.
People now are more concerned about the data you hold about them, and the responsibility you take as an organization as well.
Right.
So the burden and the process I think is across the board,
yes,
from the state to the private sector to the public sector,
right,
and to individual standpoints as well. And that kind of mind shift change that we have as a nation will kind of establish us as a front runner, not only in the region, but as digital transformation happens globally as well, to be able to service the world. So I believe even as a nation as well as an organization, if companies invest in actually upskilling some of these areas or focus areas when it comes to data privacy, whether it is engineering, non-technical, or even the legal perspective,
right,
and coming it as a combined effort to the organization, there's an opportunity that is there to be met.
Right. Data privacy should no longer be a checkbox. It should be a mandatory requirement. We spoke about all of this and more with Ranuk Mendis. Stay tuned.
You have an ambition. Trust your instincts. Move forward. This is your moment to shape your future, to be independent, to strengthen yourself. Your time is now. Accelerate your progress. Empowering your progress for a fulfilled life. Union Assurance.
For 30 years, LMD has been the voice of business in Sri Lanka, capturing the pulse of the nation's corporate landscape through its iconic covers. Each cover tells a story, from the first edition in 1994 to the present day, narrating key moments, leaders and trends that have shaped Sri Lanka's business ecosystem. Over the years, LMD covers have featured thought leaders, business pioneers, and game-changing innovations, reflecting the evolution of industries and the economy. As we celebrate 30 years, these covers represent more than just publications. They are a testament to LMD's legacy of excellence in business journalism and its unwavering commitment to being Sri Lanka's leading voice of business. LMD, Sri Lanka's voice of business, a legacy of 30 years.
Hello and welcome to LMDtv. The topic of conversation today is data privacy, and I'm here with the founder and CEO of Enprivacy, Ranuk Mendis. Welcome to our show, Ranuk.
Thank you for having me.
Ranuk, data privacy is, everyone's talking about it, but then on the other hand, no one really knows what to talk about it. So to start off our conversation, if I ask you, how important and how urgent is it for Sri Lanka businesses as well as individuals to get on board get on the bandwagon in terms of protecting data?
Yeah, I think it's very important and very urgent. I think we're at a pivotal stage at the moment,
Right.
especially in the region. You know, we have seen countries like Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia now really bring in stringent data privacy regulation and compliance processes. So I think this is a really good opportunity for Sri Lanka itself. I think if we do get kind of data privacy compliance right,
Yes.
we can really set ourselves up as a main competitor in the region, being able to provide products and digital services within this journey as well. So as much as I say it's critical, I also see it as a huge opportunity for us as a nation.
And what would you say is the prevailing state? I know we've been talking about data privacy for a while,
Yeah.
but I don't know where exactly the level is in the country.
So in Sri Lanka itself, we have just enacted the Sri Lankan Data Privacy Act. So we have a very good regulation that has come in, that has given us a very good platform in that sense.
Right.
In regards to implementation, I think a lot of organizations now are understanding more or less how that process will play out within their organizations as well, and what that will look like. So there is a little bit of a mind shift change that has happened after the regulation has come in. I think what Sri Lanka what I like to call this is more or less a bridging phase, where we're going from regulation to actual implementation.
Right.
So I think now we need to understand how we run that implementation process, what that means in day-to-day, in a day-to-day operation, and understanding not only the responsibility from an organization standpoint, but for me as a person, as you know, the data that you hold of mine, understanding that responsibility as well. So we've started the journey, and we have taken a good kind of start to it. I think there's a long roadmap to go as a nation as well.
Definitely. I want to ask about the individuals a little bit later, but if you focus on corporate, like you said, the implementation phase, who should bear that responsibility? Is it the state or is it the private sector? How should we do?
I really think it's going to be more or less a combined effort if we are to move on.
Right.
There's the state obviously has set out regulation as it is,
Yes.
but as organizations, I think we have the responsibility when it comes to data.
Right.
The world itself has changed when it comes to data itself. People now are more concerned about the data you hold about them, and the responsibility you take as an organization as well.
Right.
So the burden and the process, I think, is across the board,
Yes.
from the state to the private sector to the public sector,
Right.
and to individual standpoints as well. And that kind of mind shift change that we have as a nation will kind of establish us as a front runner, not only in the region, but as digital transformation happens globally as well, to be able to service the world.
Got it. And to navigate the kind of complexities and the intricacies of data privacy, you need a lot of resources, and I suppose a lot of talent as well. Where do we stand, and how far should we go in terms of that?
So I think in regards to talent, Sri Lanka has a very strong talent pool. We always have good talent in engineering, in the legal expertise, in the process and compliance side as well. From a talent perspective, I think there has to be a little bit of upskilling that needs to come into place when it comes to the implementation and day-to-day running of a data privacy program or a data privacy process for that matter, and what that looks like for an organization in practice.
Right.
And that is a key factor. And again, I think a lot of these resources, it's not an individual problem, it has to be a combined effort even within an organization. So I believe even as a nation as well as an organization, if companies invest in actually upskilling some of these areas or focus areas when it comes to data privacy, whether it is engineering, non-technical, or even the legal perspective, and come in it as a combined effort to the organization, there's an opportunity that is there to be met.
Right. And when it comes to the resources, I mean, this might be an unfair question, but how big is that investment?
So I wouldn't say, I'll speak to you about it in kind of a roadmap perspective.
Yes.
The roadmap is quite long. There is initial understanding and the mindset change, as we say, that needs to occur, where people understand, what protecting data looks like, and what data privacy is, and kind of your responsibility to it. But also what that looks like from kind of your day-to-day operations, how you run a process to ensure that you're building the right safeguards to ensure you're protecting that data. I think there is kind of a hand-holding that need to be done within that roadmap as well. So, investment-wise, I would say yes, it can feel as a burden, but it is a huge opportunity for organization. It opens up many doors internationally as well today. Looking at some of the most stringent data privacy laws across the world, like the GDPR in the European markets, for an example, those are opportunities for us that we can play on and we can learn from as well.
And in terms of like a case study that Sri Lanka can get, inspiration from, would you say it's more regional, like Singapore, Malaysia, or?
I think it's twofold. I think there's a couple of lessons to be learned. One is the way the region is adopting to it, especially with the coming of AI and the AI boom. I think Singapore itself is a front runner when it comes to AI governance, where they're trying to lead the kind of forefront in that sense.
Yes.
So I believe Sri Lanka as a country can kind of piggyback off some of these areas and be able to kind of create an opportunity out of that. So there's learnings that we can take from the region, especially from countries like Singapore, Malaysia and Indonesia that have now bought in and established really good kind of privacy processes and controls. Whereas from kind of the global markets, especially the European markets, where they have been in this whole process for a decade or so, a long time, and kind of drive the regulation across the globe. I believe even in that sense there are certain lessons that we can take to ensure that we're not looking at this as a risk but as an opportunity for us as a whole as well.
Lovely. We spoke about the need and the implementation part, but I think, or you might correct me here, there's a lot of awareness yet to be had. For someone, let's say an individual who is not right now taking any action towards this, how would you sell the need to protect data?
Well, I think the answer is simple. If you want to do business in the future and if you want to transform as a business, privacy is now not a checkbox anymore. It is becoming a core component of transforming an organization or a business to the next level. For me, digital transformation itself, a foundational pillar of that is data privacy and data security. The impact of a concern or a risk when it comes to data privacy to organization is huge. We have seen that occur in the country as well as in the region in the past, and some of the repercussions that it can have on a brand as well is quite large. So if you ask me from an ROI perspective, there's huge impacts that can come to an organization when it comes to this. So I think the sell is, people itself are now more concerned about their data, like you and I would be. We are more concerned about who's holding our data and what they're doing with it as well. And if an organization can give you that assurance on what they're doing and how they're protecting it, that itself becomes a good foundation for them to kind of move forward in this kind of context as well.
It's time now to take a very short break, but we'll soon be back to talk more about data privacy.
Display your brand message on digital screens at prime locations. The largest digital advertising network in Sri Lanka. Emerging Media.
Welcome back to the show. We're in conversation with the founder and CEO of Enprivacy, Ranuk Mendis. And talking about individuals, we see, like you said, with AI becoming more and more part of our lives, it's all becoming more and more scrutinized, on like how it's worsening the situation or so. Can you shed some light on this?
I think so. AI has kind of, in the last couple of years, obviously from machine learning to now AI has kind of transformed the way we do day-to-day tasks and day-to-day operations as well. A lot of these models are built on large sets of data, and some of it is very sensitive data at the same point. With that comes the topic of, how do we protect that sensitive data, and what kind of guardrails you need to build around it. So you hear the word AI governance being thrown around a lot. For me personally, I think AI governance itself is kind of a page out of the book of privacy, understanding, what you're building this on, whose sensitive data you're using, and what kind of protocols you're building to establish and to protect it in that sense. So with the kind of AI transformation that is coming along, I think the compliance processes need to kind of be going hand in hand in that sense. Any good AI model will be having good AI practices, AI privacy practices in that sense. And that's something that we can see happening in the region as well. Even if you look at countries like Singapore that are now kind of in the forefront of AI governance, they made it kind of a prerequisite for companies to have a certain level of privacy governance processes where they're respecting certain processes and protocols from a legal perspective as well when they're building these AI models as well. So for Sri Lanka per se, as we kind of go down this journey, I think it's important for these two areas, AI transformation as well as the AI privacy side of things to move more or less hand in hand.
So it's kind of like a good thing that we're still at a nascent kind of stage. Or have we gone a little bit too far without looking at governance?
No, not at all. I think you look, the whole world is kind of adopting to AI as it goes along. Sri Lanka is kind of at a very early stage when it comes to it. There's a lot of lessons that we can learn from the region as well. And as long as we adopt and change and move forward with some of these processes and protocols in place, to be honest, I see it as a good opportunity for us as a country as well. Yeah.
And talking about moving forward, like you said, more and more companies are paying attention to this. What are the complexities in terms of data protection and privacy that they should be concerned about most today?
So I think in complexities, one of the big ones is that, data has no borders anymore,
Yes.
Especially with the coming of AI, data is not localized. There's certain regulation that calls for, to localize data within within countries rather. But I think organizations that can now adopt to data being international and still being able to protect their data ecosystem rather than the data within their company itself. I think that's how you kind of set yourself up as a front runner when it comes to this issue especially. I mean, we have seen obviously with the transformation of AI and now cloud storage, data is now moving away from your organization but into a larger ecosystem. So I think organizations need to be able to set up the right processes and protocols and technology as well to be able to ensure that they're protecting it in that kind of ecosystem at the same time.
Wow. And this kind of tech, I mean, it's already in use, but what is the concern to customers? I mean, someone might always say, you have my data and now it's not even in Sri Lanka, it's in another country. What would you tell them?
So I think from a customer perspective, I think they are more concerned about what organizations are actually doing with that data and how risky it is as well. More sensitive data, the more worried you would be about it. So in regards to that, I think organizations, again, as long as they have the right safeguards and processes in place, the message is very easy to communicate to your consumers. Consumers are mostly concerned about how you're protecting that data, and as long as you have that transparency, have that awareness, and kind of an open process on what you're doing. As you can see, a lot of kind of the big tech firms across the globe have adopted that approach.
And now we're used to it with all the social media ones.
Exactly. So, you kind of give them kind of an open book to say, look, this is what we're doing with your data. And as you're open with it, I think you put some of those issues to rest in that sense as well. So,
yes. And it'll be part and parcel of life anyway. Ranuk, it's been an amazing conversation. We are nearing the end. So I will ask you something like this. You mentioned the word mindset changes a lot. How can we get started on this? I mean, how can we ensure that we have a culture of trust and accountability in organizations?
So I think the Data Privacy Act itself has set a good foundation for it. I think that's one of the very key steps that we have done as a country. It really sets us as it really kind of establish what the digital transformation will look like in the next decade or so. I think in regards to mindset shifts, a lot of organizations have now taken it on themselves, for training and awareness to establish kind of what is required from the employees when it comes to data. I think the cultural shift has to come in understanding that this is not more than kind of a legal checkbox that needs to come in. It's part of your brand, it's part of your reputation moving forward. And if you want to be a global player rather, or a regional player as an organization or as an individual, this is kind of a focus area that needs to be incorporated as a key function within the organization moving forward.
It's a necessity, not an option anymore.
100%, yeah.
Perfect. We've been in conversation with the founder and CEO of Enprivacy, Ranuk Mendis. The was lovely talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me. Thank you.
And thank you to all our viewers for joining us. Until next time, take care.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram and X. Thank you for watching and stay safe.